I'll begin tonight by showing you a set of pictures. This is a vaccine for the Wuhan virus. It is made in China, the country that gave the world the virus. It is now showing off the antidote. China released these pictures last week. Now it says that a Chinese vaccine should be ready as early as November. In just 2 months, China says it will be ready to sell a vaccine. The question is, does the vaccine work? Your guess is as good as mine. But here's the brutal truth. We are 9 months into the pandemic. We do not have a cure yet. And going by most reliable projections, we won't have a vaccine before next year. Scientists are setting early 2021 as the deadline for a vaccine. It could take 4 years for the whole world to access it. But China says its vaccine should be ready in 2 months. China has already sold the world faulty test kits and PPE sets. Now it wants to sell a vaccine. Here is my question. Will you take a Chinese vaccine, one that is being produced by sidestepping rules and with the sole purpose of winning the race? If your answer is yes, then you must know this. Just like most things Chinese, very little is known about the vaccine. But we do know a thing or two about the makers of these vaccines. Before the pandemic, China's vaccine companies had lost the trust of its citizens. Why? Because they sold ineffective vaccines. Their officials paid bribes. Sinopharm is one of the Chinese companies in this vaccine race. It runs something called the Wuhan Institute of Biological Products. In 2018, this institute was involved in a scandal. Defective vaccines for diphtheria, tetanus, whooping cough, and other conditions were injected into hundreds of thousands of babies. The institute was taken to court, at least in 2 cases. It was ordered to partially compensate its victims. The payout was around $71,500. And the list of controversies around China's vaccine makers is a long one. I have one more example for you tonight. This is about another vaccine maker, Sinovac, a Chinese company that is making the Wuhan virus vaccine too. From 2002 to 2014, a general manager from Sinovac bribed China's deputy director in charge of drug evaluations. He was paid nearly $50,000. This was in exchange for drug approvals. Basically, this company bought approvals. Sinopharm and Sinovac, 2 Chinese companies with a sketchy track record. They are the ones leading China's vaccine hunt. Would you take their vaccine? Good luck if you will. Despite the tainted track record, the Chinese media is promoting Sinopharm and Sinovac vaccines. First, we saw the images. Now we hear the claims. The latest one comes from China's Center for Disease Control and Prevention. An official there says the general public may be able to get their hands on the vaccine in November. Reports say China has 4 vaccines in the final stage of a clinical trial. At least 3 have already been offered to the essential workers. In the month of July, China launched an emergency use program. It began administering the vaccine to essential workers. That's how China is trying to win the vaccine race, by disregarding global standards, conducting secret trials, and using government workers as guinea pigs. Let me show you a report that came out in July. It says that China offered its vaccine to employees of PetroChina. This is a state-owned oil giant, PetroChina. So China said 2 vaccines for emergency use, had 2 vaccines at that time, and it invited PetroChina workers to try them out so that they could, quote unquote, protect themselves when working overseas on Belt and Road projects. It sounds like a noble idea, but it's Chinese. China is not protecting its citizens who travel overseas for work. It is using them for experiments. Like I said, guinea pigs. PetroChina employees were given an unproven vaccine outside the official clinical trials. China has essentially extended a lab experiment to its people without a stamp of approval for any of its vaccines. It's not just unethical, it's dangerous. Who will be accountable if the vaccine leads to side effects? The Chinese state is backing this program, but will it take responsibility for mishaps? Yes, it's a rhetorical question. When does China ever take responsibility? The Wuhan virus is still waiting to be claimed. And now China wants to sell a vaccine. It wants to be the first one to give it to the world, to change the narrative, to portray itself as a savior. I'm not making this up. Listen to Xi Jinping. He's been saying this. Let me take you back to the month of May. Xi Jinping addressed the World Health Assembly. What did he say? Let me quote. COVID-19 vaccine development and deployment in China, when available, will be made a global public good. This will be China's contribution to ensuring vaccine accessibility and affordability in developing countries. That was a declaration of intent. And on that day, Xi Jinping put it on record. He told the world that China was in the vaccine race. To win it, China began secret trials. Government officials and citizens were given the unproven vaccine. Chinese drug maker Sinovac began administering the vaccine to thousands of its employees. Some 3,000 employees got the jab. Then we have Sinopharm. It went one step further. Senior officials, even the chairman of the company, took the vaccine. Or so we are told. They are chasing a December deadline for the public rollout. Sinopharm has even announced the price, less than 1,000 yuan, that's $147 for 2 doses. But beyond the borders of China, these vaccines have got no approvals. Even the WHO, that tends to lean towards China, will not give its stamp of approval. The World Health Body, for a change, wants to see proof first. They've asked for scientific evidence that China's vaccines actually work.